Well, it's not going to happen. Sequestration was never intended to happen. Think back to what happened. First of all, we had an artificial debt ceiling that this country, if it weren't raised a year ago, we could not have paid our bills. And so a budget agreement was put together. First of all, there was a cut of $1 trillion off the top. And then there was put in place a super committee of 6 from the House and 6 from the Senate in order to reach bipartisan agreement. But the mechanism was like a guillotine over their heads, sequestration, that would have been so onerous that they would come to agreement. All you needed was one. It deadlocked 6-6, and that then activated the sequestration. Now, what will happen is after the election, we'll go back. I can tell you over half of the Senate, bipartisan, is ready to put together that comprehensive plan, part of which I explained in an earlier question, where you can do cuts, but you can get revenue from the tax loopholes, lower everybody's tax rates, and then have room to lower the deficit.
Thank you, sir. 1 minute, 15, Congressman Mack.
Thank you very much. It's a great question, and Senator, once again, this shows that you say one thing to the people of the state of Florida, but you do something else in Washington, D.C. See, you said that sequestration, we can't do sequestration. It's going to hurt our military. In fact, because of your vote on sequestration, you cut $500 billion out of defense. You've gutted our military. And at the same time, you continue to send foreign aid to countries that do not support the United States of America. Now, I find it interesting that you keep talking about Medicare and sequestration. You voted to take $700 billion out of Medicare. It's a fact, to pay for Obamacare. You voted to gut our military through sequestration. I didn't vote for sequestration. It was a dumb idea. We should have never have done that. You know, and what I think what's important here is that you can either have someone who tells you one thing to Floridians, but then votes with Barack Obama 98% of the time in Washington, or you can have someone who's going to stand up and fight for you. Make sure that we put Floridians first, that we protect and save Medicare, not gut it.
Senator, minute 15.
Congressman, you're repeating the same lines over and over. What you voted against a year ago was you were going to let this country go into default where it could not pay its bills. And obviously, the country couldn't do that. And therefore, we had to try to get a bipartisan budget agreement. You were in the significant minority in voting against that budget agreement. But speaking of votes, why don't you explain how you don't show up to work? Why don't you explain how this year you have one of the worst voting records? I have missed one vote this year. You have missed 178. And when you do show up to vote, it's even worse. Now, one of the votes you missed was the Paul Ryan plan. That was the second Paul Ryan plan. You were asked, would you support it since you missed it? You said yes. And then a later interview, you said it was stupid and you would vote no. And then your folks corrected you and you changed your position again, yes. So why don't you explain to our folks why you miss all these votes?
Senator,
30, briefly.
Thank you. Senator Nelson, let me make sure I do this clear for you. Yeah, I'm going to keep talking about this because these are your votes and you can't run from them. Now, you said that I'm in the minority. I might be in the minority with your kind in Washington, but I stand in the majority with the people of the state and this country. As far as my voting record, Senator, you should be straight with people. I've got a 94% voting record. You've got a 92% voting record. In fact, last year I cast 430 votes. You cast less than 200. Senator Nelson, you've got a lot of explaining to do, a lot of accusations,
30 seconds,
not a lot to back it up.
You said, how can you argue with someone who just completely pulls it out? He would have you think that I voted half the time because he voted for 100 votes, 400, and I voted for 200.
And Senator,
that's all the Senate did.
We're going to have to